Good afternoon. So here we are today, the third day of our civil service workshop during this lockdown. So I think people are joining in. Yes. Okay. So we will be heading towards our first session. We have Shreya sir in for our first session of today. That it will be an interactive session with Shreya's IPS, who's hailing from Ernakulam and who and was like a psychology graduate and also and a MBA holder, and he cleared UPSC in 2019, and currently he belongs to Madhya Pradesh cadre. And we will be having a first session as like an interactive session with Shreya sir. So I am here inviting Shreya sir for the session.
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes,
Hello.
you are audible.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't get your name. Who introduced?
Yes, sir. I'm Shana.
Shana. Okay. Thank you, Shana, for introducing me.
Yeah.
As Shana mentioned, this will be an interactive session because I haven't planned anything to speak upon. So what I intend to have is that I would like to know what you want to know from me, or what you would like to understand about this examination or the Indian Police Service, which I joined last year. So you can either type in the chat box, or you can ask by unmuting yourself. So before doing that, I will just give you a brief about my journey into civil services examination and into a career in civil services. I started at the age of 27. Okay, that was in 2014. While I was working in a private company, a corporate company, as an HR executive after MBA. So that was my first attempt. That was my second attempt. In fact, I gave a attempt while working there without any preparation. So with preparation, I cleared this examination in my sixth attempt. So first attempt was in 2014. I went in for interview that year, didn't clear. Second attempt I gave in 2015. I cleared prelims, wrote mains, but didn't clear. Then third attempt I gave in 2016. There also I went for interview, but lost by some 7 marks. In 2018, I didn't clear prelims. 2019, I wrote again and I cleared with 422 rank. So this is my journey, which spanned over 7 years. My graduation, as she said, it's in psychology, and I have post graduation in business administration. My optional for this examination was also psychology. This is about the general idea of my journey into civil services. Then to speak of my job right now, I was allocated Indian Police Service. IPS was also my first option. You can understand that we have an option to give our service preferences. I gave IPS in all these attempts. In all these interviews, I went with IPS as my first option. And I was allotted that, and I'm allotted the cadre, which is Madhya Pradesh. So from October 12th, 2020, I started my training. Initially, there was a foundation course, which we all rank holders, be it any service, they will undertake a foundation course, which was held in Mussoorie, Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy. It was till December 16. After that, on December 28th, I joined here. And right now I am in Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel National Police Academy in Hyderabad. So as you all are in between a lockdown, we are also having a kind of lockdown situation inside. And outside we don't know, because from December 28th till date, we haven't gone out much. Except for a week into Assam for some election work. So otherwise, we are also like you, sitting inside and undertaking our training related activities. So that is about my journey and my job. Okay, so I'm still because I'm yet to do that. I had a very limited field experience in Assam for a week for conducting the elections in the second phase, which held in April 1st week. So now the floor is open to questions. Like I would like you to present whatever doubt or whatever queries which you have related to this UPSC journey, and I would try to be as honest as possible and try to clear whatever that comes within the scope of my knowledge. Okay.
Sir, before you are getting into these questions related your preparation and strategies, it will be a pleasure to know about the IPS training that you have got. So, regarding the training, that aspirants will be very curious about this police service training, about this how those physical activities and your routines went there.
Okay.
What was it like? How you expected, and what was your experience during the training?
Okay, so one aspect which differentiates Indian Police Service from all other services is this physical component. Everyone is either apprehensive about this physical aspect. So maybe that is the reason for you asking this question also. Otherwise, training is all training. It is related to the job you are going to perform. So typically, this is National Police Academy, which is opened in the name of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Earlier, it was in Mount Abu. Now it is in Hyderabad. IPS training happens in Hyderabad. So this is a 276-acre campus. We have a lot of buildings and training facilities inside. So I landed here on December 28th, 2020. So first thing, apart from the previous years, what differentiates training now is Corona. So we were first isolated. Okay, we had I lost the count of how many times I undergone. I put that thing in my nose. Okay, so Corona has become part of our day-to-day lives, and as a result, our training is impacted a bit. Means the manner in which training is imparted is also different from the previous years. So what I'll be saying is a kind of routine which we follow, which factors in the COVID situation a lot. So typically we can divide the IPS training into two components. One is the indoor component, second is the outdoor component. So in the indoor component and outdoor component have equal importance here. So in the indoor component, we have all those subjects which are useful for a police officer in the field. So you can guess it could be law, then forensics, this forensic science and forensic medicine. We are not going into deep. We just understand those things which are required for us to supervise the officers who are working for us in the districts. So we have law. Law includes criminal procedure code, Indian Penal Code, Indian Evidence Act mainly. Then there's a special, there are sessions on special laws like POXO Act or Juvenile Justice Act or whatever specific laws which are important as far as the day-to-day lives are concerned. So we talked about forensic medicine, forensic science law. Then ethics, the same ethics, integrity, attitude which we learned in UPSC, something which is more connected to our policing work. So ethics is a paper here. Then there is a paper on police administration and police organization management. Okay, so it includes a lot of theoretical aspects which you might have seen in movies and all, like this crowd control, various theories and all those things. Then if there is any MBA people, we learn a little bit of human resource management here, like how to manage your workplace and all. So these are the subjects which come in as internal subjects. Along with that, we have a paper, criminology paper as well. So these are the indoor subjects. If I break these subjects, there will be sub-papers which is relevant for you as of now. But indoor component includes all of this. Second part is the outdoor component, which is IPS is most popular for. So typically our day starts at we wake up by 4:50 or 5. There is a marker in the ground at 5:45. So we have to be in the ground by 5:45. Then 5:45 to 7:30 we have various physical training, PT yoga, or we'll be learning unarmed combat is one component. So those who have learned martial arts and all, we follow a particular kind of practical martial arts here. There's a teacher for that, instructor from various central armed police forces here to train us on that. Then there will be aerobics, there could be Zumba or any kind of physical activity, which will it might include running as well. So running is a main component of this outdoor. So this is the outdoor activity in the morning till 7:30. Then after 7:30, from 7:30 to 9, we have the time for breakfast and day-to-day routine, day-to-day activities. Then 9 to 1:35 is the indoor classes. Then from 3 o'clock onwards, we'll start the outdoor again. So from 3 to next two periods in the sense 40-minute periods, we have either drill or some other subjects. Maybe there's a tactics module also, which includes this basics of map reading, jungle operations, all those things. So this is the outdoor activity, and we have an hour of games also in the evening. So games are it's basically they are more into training you to play a game than you actually playing a game. So there are teachers, instructors, for coaches for various games. We play football, handball, volleyball, basketball, etc. So every day of the week is allotted to a particular game. So half the time we'll devote to learn the game. Then half the time we'll play amongst each other. So the entire batch of 154 people are divided into 8 groups. So these groups, all the activities are undertaken in the groups. So after all this, we are free. So in the free time, that means after 6:30 onwards, that is our time, we can engage in any sort of activity. So there are facilities for indoor games, gymnasium, then you can do cycling. There's a big campus. Okay, so these are your time which you can spend in the way you want. So this is what typically a day in Indian Police Academy. So this is the indoor and outdoor component. Apart from that, attached to this indoor and outdoor, there are a few outstation activities. Like we will be attached to various police forces like traffic management. Then there are several central armed police forces. BSF is there. We have an attachment with the Indo-Tibetan Border Police. So all these attachments, then one I mentioned earlier, we went for election attachment. All these are part of this outdoor also. This is typically the day. And another component which I missed is that this food drill, arms drill, and all the drill which you see, the parades and all during huge Republic Day, we practice that a lot because that is an integral part of the police training. So this is typically the training. So training happens over a period of 2 years, divided into 3 phases. In the first phase, there is all these activities. From, if I say my schedule, it will be from December. We don't know when it will end. So as per the schedule right now, it is going to end in November, phase 1. Then we will be sent for 6 months district training, district practical training in our cadres. Then we'll come back here with all those learning from the field. And there are a few things for the next 3 months. Then our training ends. So this occurs over a period of 2 years. This is IPS training in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you, sir. And similarly, people are eager to know about this Bharat Darshan as well. See, since the preparation starts, Bharat Darshan is something like every aspirant's dreams, like getting to know about India. So what was your experience regarding this Bharat Darshan?
We are all in lockdown. Where is Bharat Darshan happening? So nothing is happening right now. All our attachment is either cancelled or postponed. So even the IAS people didn't have their Bharat Darshan. So right now this Bharat Darshan idea is mainly for the IAS people because it is more elaborate, spanning a period of 45 days. It's not an entire Bharat Darshan. We cover 2-3 states and focus on those states. So for IPS, we have 15-day journey in across 3 states. So the previous batch were having that. In between, the second wave of corona came and it got stopped. Then we have a foreign visit as well. The current batch, or the batch 2019 batch IPS officers are also here with us, because their training also got disturbed by this COVID. So they were supposed to go to France, but that also didn't happen. So what I heard is that Bharat Darshan is nice, but I don't know how, because we haven't gone.
Okay, so regarding, we got one question that is regarding the cadre change. Is it possible to change the cadre once we are allocated to the one we have given, or something like that?
It is a very difficult thing. Why do you ask such a question? I didn't get. Because basically, I tell you that all the movies which we see have these IAS, IPS characters, right? And we don't see a hero working in a cadre different from that of his home state, right? So never have this expectation. The chance that you get your home state as your cadre is very rarest of the rare. Okay, so you must have come across people who have got their home cadres. Consider them as very fortunate people. Okay, they have all the right things in their favor. But otherwise, you coaching guys would say that the probability to get into IAS, right? So that probability is still lesser for getting your preferred cadre. And being aspirant for an all India service, I think you should keep away this idea of working only in my home cadre. Prepare yourself to work for people of India anywhere you're posted in. So once you keep this expectation away, you will not have any heartburns once you are in service. You get a cadre which is not of your choice. So be ready, be prepared. You are aspiring for something which is not near your home. Okay.
Yes, similarly,
Changing the cadre, regarding your question, changing cadre is a very cumbersome process. They allow cadre change in the case of marriages, then some extreme exigencies and all. So there is if you are interested, you can refer to a cadre policy document, which is, you can Google it out. There are some conditions mentioned, but it is a very rare thing happening. Okay, sometimes there is a, I've heard of officers who got their cadres changed when they get shot or something. Okay, so don't get have such wishes. That's a rare thing which happens. You have an option to come for deputation into your home state once you complete, I think, 9 years or something. That's true for all India services.
So regarding this preparation of yours, as you have mentioned that you were working in TCS also, so how could you manage this preparation and your working hours? So is it better to switch into full-time preparation, or is it possible to manage it like with a work also?
Yeah, it is possible to manage. Nothing is impossible. It depends on your how much time you get in your job. Okay. So in my case, I was having in full-time job in all sense. So initially I took leave and tried to prepare. Then I decided to quit the job. So I think I had to give a full 2 years in the initial time of the career. Then being at that age, I didn't have the luxury to spend another couple of years full time. So I joined another job, or I got into working part time either, as soon as my exams are over. So the cycle, prelims, mains, interview cycle. So apart from those days, in between, I was into working almost full time. So if you ask me whether is it possible to prepare and work, it's possible only, but you should have that kind of self-discipline and routine where you get at least 2-3 hours. You find 2-3 hours to prepare. So it's not a impossible task, but it depends on your situation. So I tell every people who speak to me, you speak to a lot of what toppers or people who are already in service. Or you listen to the strategies, or you read about the strategies of different people. So as far as you are concerned, your strategy should be grounded in your situation. So my strategy or my situation is very much different, which might not work for you. So always try to customize your preparation. You can at best take whatever books and all you should study and all, but never follow the lifestyle of a topper or a person. Well, customize it to according to your situation. Okay.
And so there is a question regarding your experience during this personality test, how it went, and any interesting questions that you got.
Actually, I attended 4 interviews, so it is a what most I got a wider experience with respect to personality test, and my scores were always around 170 plus or minus 2, like that. So any interesting question in the sense that I've been sometimes I've been very fortunate where the board gave very low marks to all other people, and I could happily say that I scored 170 when the other people scored very much lesser. But whether the interview was good or bad, it matters whether you get into service. That's the ultimate question. Okay, so in one attempt, I think it was in 2017, the interview was extremely smooth, extremely well. I was also very happy, but I was the last person to go just before lunch. The interview went very smooth and got over in around 10-15 minutes. But that year I was given 165 marks. I still can't comprehend what went wrong. So when I checked the marks of other candidates, all of them were having this marks 165, 68, like that. Nobody was given the marks. So interview is a situation. Interview is this part of the examination in this cycle, which is not really in your control. You can't have 100% control. You can have control a lot of things. You can prepare your level best, but still there is a chance of chance factor or a fate factor is there. So in another year, I felt that I screwed up my interview. It went really bad. But that year the scores were way above my what I expected. So uh, this is the kind of interview experience I had. What I felt is that every single word which you put in your detailed application form is important, and you are responsible for that. So if you write that you are a BTech engineer, or if you are writing that you are a psychology graduate, they expect you to be knowledgeable about that. Okay. So when you're filling your detailed application form, in all my 4 interviews, the questions from DAF figured the most. So every single word you prepare on that, including the meaning of your name. So one time, twice I got the same board, and twice the interviewer asked the same set of questions. And the same set of questions were from the subject only, your graduation subject or your post-graduation subject. So be prepared as far as your graduation subjects are concerned. The words you write in the detailed application form. 2 interesting questions I would like to say is that we put in there's a subjects column, subjects you have learned in 10th standard, 12th standard, like that, graduation degree. So we prepare well for our graduation subject and post-graduation subject, but we leave the +2 subjects. So twice I got this question: what did you learn in English for higher secondary? Okay. In my first interview, I was caught offhand. I don't even remember what I read for higher secondary. So I randomly said some book. It was some Shakespearean drama, Julius Caesar or something. I thought the question would end there, but then he started saying "thou Caesar" like that and all, and asked me which context this came in. So I just know the storyline of Julius Caesar, but I was not in a position to tell which context that statement was made or who said what to whom. So I said sorry. Then he again came up with the EC sir like that, and asked the another occasion. So that happens. Then in interview 2017, to my surprise, I was asked the same question: what did you learn for higher secondary, by a different person, different interview board member. That time he didn't quote anything. I was prepared. I knew what I learned. I said Count of Monte Cristo. He just asked the author's name. Okay, and when the author's name was asked, I forgot what who was the author. I only knew the first part, Alexander Dumas or someone. So I just said Alexander, and he completed it. So this was one experience which I remember. So whatever word, be it the subject you learn for higher secondary or in your 10th standard, if you're putting it, just try to prepare on that as well, what you studied, or have some idea of every word, or be prepared with a brief on every single word from your DAF.
Okay, then regarding this preparation itself, we got multiple questions regarding your preparation on current affairs, how you managed to read this current affairs, regarding editorials, how you prepared notes and all. So can you give a simple analysis on
Okay.
it?
Current affairs. Actually, I'm in out of touch with what is happening around, because we don't get newspapers so regularly here. So from what happened till 2019 examination, I can tell you, I prepared. I was a kind of lazy person. In the initial attempts, I was very religious in reading newspapers, particularly the Hindu. And if you are a beginner, I would say that you should read the newspaper thoroughly. Okay. Why I say this is because there are n number of sources where you get the summary of everything. Maybe BIS itself is giving you current affairs summary. Okay, but that will give you only information. That will not help you in developing other things that you would get from reading newspaper. Okay, so one is unknown to you, your language abilities would develop. Your understanding or your ability to comprehend would also improve. So at least in the first 2 years, you should be very particular in this point. Maybe many people would disagree with me, but I would suggest that if you're a person who think that I need to improve my language abilities, I have problem in the comprehension area of civil service aptitude CSAT paper, then definitely you should read the newspaper, read the editorial like that. And I didn't have this habit of writing notes and all. If I see something very interesting or something very odd or something, I would just jot it down. But I rarely summarized editorials and all that. For that, you can make use of this vision or whatever current affairs material you get. Maybe particular issue, let's say the powers of Lieutenant Governor in Delhi. If that is a topic, you can learn from those materials. But whatever the news comes in, just read it and understand, and try to place it in the context or in the framework of our syllabus. Okay, that's all you need to do. And if you see something, let's say some what there was a question on Meghalayan village where tree bridges are built. Okay, so that came in newspaper, some old news article, something strange, something very what do you call that evokes our curiosity, or something like this happens in this part of the country. So there's a feature on that. If something like that that you notice, just note it down somewhere. Hmm? That you can do. Then other than that, you can refer to this current affairs bulletins or magazines or whatever. That is my thing. And in the subsequent attempts, the time I spent on newspapers came down owing to various other factors, because I was into working and all. So the time to spend religiously on newspaper also went down. So what I did is that I referred to this current affairs digest and also There was I forgot the name, some Sunyan or something like that. I used to get it from, I subscribed it with a friend. They used to give this bullet sized current affairs thing. So in that, while reading that, I would make notes from that. So that was already in the form of notes. I would just take a notebook and write down, or I will create a Word file with all those things which I would need to revise just before the prelims. So that is what I did in the last attempt, or the attempt in which I cleared. So I don't recommend this thing to you, the Sunya notes or something. Just read newspaper. Then whatever you find in this current affairs material, just a bullet point kind of notes. Make it for your reference.
Okay, so I will be taking in one last question as sir is moving on a very tight schedule. So this will be the last question. That is regarding the mistakes that you found, you sorted out after getting cleared. See, after 4 personality tests, you got cleared. So what do you felt it when it comes to that clearing year? The repeated mistakes that you made or something like that.
Could you just repeat the question? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Is it clear
Mistakes in
now?
the mistakes. I heard
Mistakes that you get to know in the preparation once when you got cleared. See, for the past 4 years, what were your mistakes in preparation?
See, one thing, one common mistake which I learned is that I told you in the beginning. That's why I briefed about my journey, and I told you that everyone's journey is different. So in my journey, what happened is that I was in the cycle continuously. So I would write prelims, I qualify prelims, then I write main. So when I started in the first year, my focus was entirely on the prelims. Okay, I never. I was preparing myself. I didn't go for any coaching in the first year. So my greatest fear was, my greatest doubt was about me clearing prelims. So I put all the effort, all my energy on prelims. So once cleared, then what? I was unprepared for the mains. Okay. So what I did is that when you have a span of 3 months and you have an optional to finish, a lack of guidance worked against my favor there also. I took psychology just because I had a graduation in psychology. So psychology ate up a lot of my time because the syllabus was vast and was very different to what I've learned. Or my learning was not sufficient to crack the psychology paper for UPSC. So after prelims and mains, that time is very short to complete the psychology syllabus as well as to complete the general studies papers. So what I did is that what any student would do in a last minute situation, I studied from here and there. Okay, then I wrote mains. After mains, you will get exhausted completely. Then you will be into several other things. You'd stop focus on the exam. Then you get an interview call again. You start the preparation. You'll pick up the newspaper, take up the current affairs. Then you attend the interview. Then the wait between your interview date and the results date, that time is also wasted somehow. At least in my case. Then once results come, you would find that you are out just by this much marks, so 16 marks or 7 marks or 4 marks in my case. So again, the cycle starts. The date to prelims is very soon. So you will focus on all those. Now you know how questions would come in prelims. Then you focus all your energy on prelim. Clear that. Then again, the same thing happens, last minute preparation, or you try some jugaad to clear mains. So second attempt, I focused much on psychology. I left out what gender studies. And then I again screwed up my psychology paper that year also. Third year also the same thing happened, but this time I realized that you must you might wonder that if I admit that I came to know of economic survey only in my third attempt. Okay, So economic survey such a document is there, and you need to learn that. I understood that very late, and I started writing answers in my third attempt only. So that is the result of lack of proper guidance, or I was too confident about myself clearing without writing anything, maybe. That year also went like that. I missed by a small margin. Hmm. Then another thing is that when you prepare, that year I was so much determined to clear that I prepared like anything. I joined test series. I started writing answers in psychology, to the extent that I overstretched. I was without any workout or nothing. I became ill. On the week of examination, I was down with fever and all. I screwed up my first two papers, essay paper and GS 1 and 2. So that year I still got interview call, but I lost by 4 marks. So this is the time. This is my that was my fourth attempt, fourth year. So that year my morale was lower than any time in my life. So I did some introspection. The biggest realization is that what went wrong in my case is that I'm doing the same mistakes again and again. So in 2018, I went to write prelims with the intention that I will, if I clear, okay. If I don't clear, I'm more okay. So I didn't clear. I was not sad about not clearing because I didn't study and I didn't want to clear because I wanted to break from the same cycle of mistakes. So what I did is that I went for ethics paper in mains without any preparation. Psychology, by the time I started scoring good marks, but I was screwing up my GS papers. So there are papers in which I can score well with some effort. That is what I realized. One is this ethics paper, being from a psychology background, but I always score 71, 81 like that. So what I did is that I started teaching psychology, okay, psychology and ethics in Trivandrum. Okay, so I choose to teach because I didn't know anything much about ethics paper or psychology apart from what I learned for the examination. So when I started teaching, I had to read more, put in more effort, and that actually worked in my favor. If you check my mark list, I've scored best in psychology and ethics paper, and I tried to put some efforts in essay just to make sure that essay paper didn't go below the average, and yeah, I was able to maintain the average among the lot. So these things worked in my favor. So uh, these are the mistakes which I did, and I found this method teaching to recover from that mistakes. But I don't recommend that for you because it takes time and effort. I think I guess nobody wants to clear in 6 or 7 years. You all want to clear in first or second attempt max. So just try to understand what mistakes you are doing in the initial time, and never think that any paper uh, doesn't need any preparation. All papers need a reasonable amount of preparation, be it ethics, be it optional, and writing is very, very important for this examination. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable time. You know that you're on a very tight schedule, and this, like, you have interacted like more than 40 minutes already. So we have more questions, but for the time
No,
being, we are
I can take one or two, no issue. Just hold on for a minute.
yes. So the one, yes, one question was like it was regarding this optional, that optional preparation. How many hours would you keep it for? I think you have already addressed that thing. So is there anything that you have to add on regarding this optional preparation, the importance that you gave?
See, we prepare optional, but we fail to write answers. Uh, what we when generally as a teacher for civil services, what I've seen is that you join a teacher for your classes, okay, and you write test series conducted by the teacher. So you naturally get the questions prepared by the teacher, and you'll naturally get your answers valued by the same teacher. You'll have the feel good. So what you have to do is that always try different people. If you're attending classes in one place, try exams at some other place. Then writing is very important, particularly those questions which UPSC have set. So previous year question papers, you need to work it out. And there is always a chance that some questions are all very difficult or tough, or completely difficult for you to crack. Don't waste too much time on those areas. Focus on those areas in the syllabus where you are stronger. Okay, so stronger areas, focus on the stronger areas. Leave those areas which are weaker, and always try different series other than the place where you have taken the coaching classes. Or
Okay, one last question from Sabin Matthew. It's regarding the RO and NIA. Is it combined with IPS, or how to get into such services?
RO is different altogether. We have two intelligence agencies. One is Intelligence Bureau and Research and Analysis Wing. Okay, RO. So one is internal intelligence. IB is internal intelligence. RO is external intelligence. So as far as RO is concerned, I'm still in the dark because we didn't have much exposure to how RO is functioning till now. IB functioning, all the I'm not sure about the RO, but Intelligence Bureau or NIA, whatever it is, the leadership positions are filled by the Indian Police Service officers. So those who join IPS, once they are posted in the districts, after they serve a few years, they have an option to go for deputation to Intelligence Bureau or NIA or CBI or other police forces like CRPF, CISF, like that. So in RO's case, I am not sure how they are taking in people. And there is an option in which where you can join Intelligence Bureau, where the agency would absorb you and you will work in Intelligence Bureau for the rest of your career. So right now we are also informed that if I want to join Intelligence Bureau and get absorbed there, I have an option to do that. But then you'll be continuing to work in that organization throughout your career. The other option is that you work in your field, in your cadre, and after some point of time, you can apply for some position in Intelligence Bureau and start working there. Or it could be IB or any other organization.
Okay, so I think there is two questions regarding this, how to continuously get motivated during preparation. So like once when you are feeling like low during your preparation times, how to keep that consistency. And this will be the last question, sir. Can you please address that? And we'll move on to this.
See, I would say that you are a person, you have lived all these years, you have studied different subjects, you gained a degree. Okay, so what you are is the result of all your experiences or all your relationships, so the world you have seen put together, that is you. Never let an examination decide who you are, or never let an examination decide or define who you are. So you might clear this examination, you might not clear this examination. So never ever consider UPSC civil service examination as the end of this world or the ultimate zenith which you can reach. Okay, so once you fix that in mind, these failures can be much easy to tackle. So I would say that you write this examination, not the other way. The exam shouldn't write your life. So it's quite possible, quite natural that you fail prelims or you didn't clear mains or you lose out everything after the interview. That's quite natural. And be prepared for that. Just because you fail doesn't mean that you are a failure. Okay, you fail this examination, maybe some other place, some other examination, or you have a greater thing in store for you in life. So have that understanding. Don't be rigid as far as this examination is concerned. I told you I cleared in my let's say 7th attempt. So if I didn't clear, what will happen? The life has to go on. Okay, I might prepare again. Okay, so once the chance exhausts, what will I do? The life doesn't end there. So the kind of motivation or the kind of energy which I've shown to clear the examination should continue or should focus in some other area as well. That's how life is. So those ups and downs are temporary. I don't consider myself as someone great after clearing the examination. I think none of us are. I mean, none of us in the sense that none of us IPS probationers here. But once you are into service, you realize that how small you are and how big the world outside is. So that's it. If you feel that you're going down, or if failure is taking you path, uh, never think that way. Okay, but did I answer your question? I got a little philosophical.
Yes, sir. Really, that was really a dose of motivation for every aspirant. So, anyway, thank you so much, Shreya sir, for being with us. So, we got I got all our questions addressed with you. Now, we'll be moving on to our next session. And it was really a great time having you with us. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. You're welcome.